Today is Saturday, December 19th, 2015, and this is the Bunny Slippers of Evil Job Seekers Call-In Show, presented by Evil Bunny Consulting. I'm your host, Tyrone Griffin, and if it's 3 p.m. and you have on your bunny slippers, you are not looking for a job. Excuse me. Welcome, first-timer returning listeners. In this show, we discuss strategies and tactics of job search, staying motivated and dealing with career transition. For more tips, resources, daily motivations, and to listen to archive shows, go to the website, bunnyslippersofevil.com. There you also find links to our Facebook page, our Twitter handle, and our YouTube channel. If you are listening live, you can call and be your questions at 347-202-0929. Again, that number is 347-202-0929. Now a word from our sponsors. Evil Bunny Consulting is the alternative to expensive outplacement. They give company-sponsored job seeker workshops as well as a one-on-one job seeker boot camp. For more information, go to bunnyslippersofevil.com. Resume Edit is a low-cost, high-quality resume writing company with resumes as low as $35, written by certified resume writers. You can find them online at resume4edit.com or call 404-860-2473. And be sure to tell them you heard about them here on the Bunny Slippers of Evil Job Seekers podcast. Let 3dresumes.net turn your resume into a web page with a customized domain for 12 months for only $30. Help hiring managers and recruiters find you, make your resume available 24/7, and get a professional personalized email address just for your job search. You can see my online resume at tyronegriffin.com, and for more information on how to get your own, go to 3dresumes.net. If you are thinking or about to look for a job in today's world, you will find a new reality in the job search process. The world has changed. Job search today is much more complicated than 5 years ago. Volumes of resumes, more applicant screening systems, depersonalized applications, panel interviews, team hiring, long complicated applications, branding and social media. Yes, the world has changed, but have you? Are you still trying yesterday's approach? Why struggle and miss out on today's opportunities? Career Oyster is here to help. Great coaches, the latest resources, unique strategies personally tailored to your job search, and find out the new reality and how you can prevent costly mistakes. To register for a free 45-minute private session with head coach Howard Caddy, go to careeroyster.com. Find out the facts now. You'll be glad you did. Remember their motto, the world is your oyster, be the pearl. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our next to last show of the year. More importantly, it's Star Wars weekend. And yeah, I would love to play the theme music right now and have stormtroopers walking back and forth by me, but I am not into paying copyright and all those licensing fees. So you just got to think it in your head, that. Anyway, everybody, welcome. This week's show, because it is Star Wars weekend, this week's show, the topic is 10 things job seekers can learn from Star Wars. Now, you might wonder, okay, how are we going to do that? Well, after exhaustive research and lots of thinking. Sorry, I'm multitasking here for a moment. Okay, let me make sure I get all of my other stuff in line. Okay. Anyway, today's show, again, it's the topic is 10 things we can learn from Star Wars. 10 things that Star Wars can teach job seekers. Apologize, I'm having a little technical difficulty that is apparently outside of my control. Ooh, lucky me. It's always awesome when stuff doesn't work. But anyway, all you Star Wars fans out there, I'm one of you. I've not seen the show. I know this is not about Star Wars, but hey, it's Star Wars weekend, and some of us die-hard fans have been waiting since about 1984, I think it is, for a Star Wars movie. Okay, let me not say that. I didn't think the prequels were bad. I could even deal with Jar Jar Binks. I wasn't that stressed out about them, but the originals were just a lot better. And all indications are that this one rocks. $50 million Thursday night. I don't know what it did yesterday, but yeah, we're going to be looking in our rearview mirror at Avatar by next week. So anyway, so I'm doing today's show because it is Star Wars weekend, and I know a lot of people are thinking about it besides me. And I just thought about it. What are things that you can learn from Star Wars as a job seeker? Even if you've never seen any of these Star Wars movies, or both of you who haven't, you can still, hopefully, you can still relate. And I'll try to give a little bit of background so you understand what this is. Now, at least one of these is on the Empire side. So all the rebels out there, just forgive me. I'll start with them first. The first idea that you can learn from Star Wars is never give up on a good idea. They taught this when they built the second Death Star. First Death Star was a good idea. I mean, it was evil, but it was a good idea. It was a smart idea. You build a space station that can destroy a planet. Yeah, that pretty much makes you the big dog on the block. Unfortunately, you leave a garbage chute that goes to the main reactor open. So you build it again. It was a good idea. As a job seeker, there are times when things don't work. You may be going to a networking event. You may be working on expanding your network. And for whatever reason, just didn't work. That doesn't mean it's not a good idea. So separate the idea from the outcome. Okay, the Death Star was a great idea. Bad implementation. Second Death Star was an even better idea. They just didn't finish it yet. But my point, in job search, whatever you're doing, if it's a good idea, it's a good idea. And sometimes it takes good ideas a little time to work out. You know, if you have this idea that you're going to be able to just, as soon as you have a good idea, you're just going to be able to boom, knock it out and everything's going to work out fine. It doesn't happen that way in job search. As we all know, it does not work that way. You have an idea, but you make sure it's a good idea. Run it by somebody, run it by your friends, family, whoever, but get somebody's feedback and make a decision for yourself if it's a good idea. If networking, see, and this is where the definition of a good idea is really weird. You know, you might think that buying a plane and a Skywriter with your resume and dropping it all over downtown is a good idea. And you spend $10,000 or whatever doing it. Get somebody's feedback, because if it's a good idea, chances are more than you will think it's a good idea. So, but the point is, if it's a good idea, if you've vetted it out with your friends and everybody thinks that this is a good idea, stick with it. Okay, don't give up on it just because it doesn't work out, because it fails once. It's like saying you go to an interview, you didn't get the job, so I'm not going to go to interviews anymore. No, that's not how it works. So that was the first lesson. Is never give up on a good idea. That's what it is look out for family. And that was by Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. You know, those are the two people who were, you know, the charred corpses in the beginning of Star Wars. So, okay, it's not funny, but it is. Always look out for family. And when I say by family, there's two kinds of family. You have your job search family and you have your blood family. If you find yourself in a situation where you can help somebody in your blood family, do so. If you find yourself in a situation where you can help somebody in your job search family, do so. If you find yourself in a situation where you can help somebody, do so. Always try to help people. Why? Because you never know when you are going to be on the other side of that and need help. So always do what you can to help anybody who's trying. Somebody wants to be lazy and sit at home. I heard a story recently from somebody who tried to connect somebody with a job, and the person wouldn't return the phone calls of the hiring manager. Okay, let's work that one through a second. They wouldn't return the phone calls. God helps those who help themselves, and so do I. The important part being who help themselves. But if you find somebody, you come across somebody who's doing their best, who's trying their hardest, help them any way you can, because you never know when you're going to be on the other side of that. So your job search family, your blood family, your human family. If you can help somebody, help them. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, by the way, they took on they they call themselves uncle and aunt, but really they were kind of Luke's grandmother's husband's family. Yeah. They ended up taking over and raising their father's slave turned wife kid before he knew her, and she got kidnapped, and he went off and became a Jedi and came back and killed everybody that killed his wife. So they ended up taking care of his son. Yeah, that's pretty complicated. But that's how it was. Okay, I had to figure that one out myself. Um, the next lesson. Looks can be deceiving. And they can be deceiving in good ways and bad ways. What do I mean by looks can be deceiving? Okay. Say you're going for an interview and you go to a company and you go to their offices and they are exquisite, spectacular. There's marble floors and gold crusted urinals in the bathroom, and everybody has on a $500 suit, and the receptionists, male or female, are impeccably dressed, and everybody is happy and looks very professional, and there's shiny, there's nice candies on the counter, and and the waiting area has these nice plush leather chairs, and it's just like your toes wiggle into place, and it says on the door, what's the guy's name who and I'm forgetting the rest of his name, but I know it was Maddow, the guy who did the Ponzi scheme. People walked into his office and thought, oh, this is the greatest place in the world. And this guy was ripping people off. By the same token, you could walk into a place, a startup maybe, that they're using shared office space someplace, and they're running around like crazy. And you're like, well, why do I want to work with this place? Listen to their offer. Looks can be deceiving. Sometimes chaos is where genius comes from, and sometimes you get it on the ground floor. My point is this: don't ever turn down a job because of the building, and don't ever accept a job because of the building. Now, the same holds true with job seekers. I told the story of the woman who came in for an interview with me, and she had on a low-cut blouse. And as a guy, I will not lie, it was enjoyable to watch. But as a potential hiring manager, I wanted no parts of her. I didn't want any parts of that interview. Because if she didn't respect the interview process enough to dress appropriately, I didn't want her on my staff. Excuse me. Again, looks can be deceiving. She might have been a very intelligent woman. I can't even remember what her resume said because I didn't look any further. Once I saw, once I saw how she was dressed, the rest of the interview was done in my mind, because there was no way I was going to recommend hiring that woman, because that's not appropriate way of coming to an interview. So yeah, your looks can be deceiving in positive and negative ways from what you see as a job seeker, and how you dress. You only get one chance to make a first impression. She didn't get invited back for a second interview. And I won't say that was the only reason, but that was for the committee that I was on, my recommendation was not to move forward with her. Okay. So looks can be deceiving. As a job seeker, you only get one time to make that first impression. Make a good first impression. Make a professional first impression. Even if you're going for a mechanic's job, show up in a tie. Okay? Respect the process. I'm going to do a show on that sometime. Okay. Next thing. People will act in their own self-interest. Lando Calrissian in Cloud City. Him and Han Solo went back way back. As a matter of fact, Lando used to be the pilot, used to own a Millennium Falcon, and he lost it in some kind of card game or something with Han. Lando went on to become administrator, which is like the mayor of Cloud City. And beautiful place up in the clouds. And when Han and the posse were running, they were like, well, let's go to see let's go to see Lando. So they ran to Lando. Unfortunately, the Empire figured out where Han was going, so they got to Lando first. And basically, took over his city. It was like, we're going to sit here and wait for Han to come in. And Han showed up, and Lando was like, what up, dog? Yo, Billy D. Williams, Colt 45. And, he gave very hospitable to Han and Leia and everything. And then they went to dinner, and Vader was sitting there saying, what's up, y'all? And, Han and Leia got mad, and you lied, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he said, I had my own issues to deal with. People will act in their own best self-interest. So don't expect people, if they do act in your best interest, that's great. But remember, people will act in their own self-interest. Okay, you need to act in yours. Okay. If somebody has an opportunity to help you, they might, but they might not. But don't count on it. Don't put all your eggs in that basket. So remember that people will act in their own best self-interest. Help somebody out if you can, but just remember that. Okay, don't give people enough rope that they can hang you with it. Okay. This one's a good one. This one was not necessarily in any of the movies, but because I am a studying Jedi, I know these things. The Jedis have a code. They say when outnumbered, attack. And what that means is if you find yourself confronted with many enemies at the same time, when outnumbered, when you are surrounded by enemies, you have two choices. You can sit back and wait for the attack to come, or you can bring the attack to them. Now, what does Jedi have to do with job seekers? What are you attacking? You will be attacking things that are mental and emotional. You will be attacking depression. You will be attacking ways of dealing with rejection. You will be attacking loneliness. You will be attacking financial straits, as they say. There's a lot of things that happen when you're in transition. A lot of things that don't go as you expected, and they're going to all overwhelm you at the same time. You stay in transition long enough, all of those things are going to come down on you at the same time. The Jedi code says, when outnumbered, attack. So, when you're outnumbered, when you have all of these things coming at you, depression, fear, anguish, financial situation, maybe your family is not helping the situation any, you got to be strong. I'm not saying you're going to start hitting people, but you got to be strong. The fact is, if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. So you have to do it. So when I say outnumbered, attack, just keep going. Here's one. Never forget your learning. Ben Kenobi spent 20-some years in the desert alone. Yeah, there's some parts of that I don't even want to think about. But he spent 20 years in the desert alone. And all that time, when called upon, he remembered his Jedi training. These are not the droids you're looking for. You can go on your way. And he fought Darth Vader. Well, I mean, he didn't fight him. He hit him with the stick a couple of times, and he stood there and let him get cut in half. But that's another story. There was no lesson in being cut in half. I tried, believe me. I was working on that one. But anyway, but never forget your learning. Never forget the things you learn in transition. On this show, I always tell people, buy a T-shirt, a water bottle, a coffee mug, a clock, or a sweatshirt as a way of not forgetting what transition is like. That same thing. You've been in transition. It sucks. Yeah. But don't forget it. Don't forget the things you've learned in transition. Don't forget the things you learned about career, how to manage your career. Don't forget those things. Always remember those things. What have you done What have you learned, in your time on earth? What have you learned, and how do you deal with it? And how do you, how do you deal with it? But how do you keep going forward using the knowledge that you do have now? So never forget, never, ever, 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 ever forget your learning. Let me see which one I want to do next. Blind love blinds. This is kind of from the, well, not kind of, it is from the prequels, when Anakin was so in love with Padme that he wanted to find a way to make it so that she would never die. And in the process of trying to learn that, he had to embrace the dark side. And that's where he became Darth Vader. Asthma Man. That's a cute name. Captain Asthma. Anyway, but that's what happened. He so loved her, he didn't see the path that it was leading him on until he was already down that path. And then he was kneeling in front of the emperor. You know. Blind love blinds. There's sometimes you can love a job, and this is for people in transition and some people who aren't in transition. You can fall in love with a job to the point where you don't realize that this job is not good for you, that this job is not doing anything for you, that this job is taking, and not giving anything back to you. Everything should be mutual. The job you do, you should be giving something to that job as well as getting something back from that job. That's just the way it works. If you're not getting anything back from that job, if you are just giving, if you're putting in time, and I have somewhat of a relative once who was laid off from a job. She had worked for years at this company, got laid off, and this is somebody who did like every weekend, at this job. She poured her heart and soul into this job, and then got laid off. And it, this is my opinion, it kind of messed her up because she had lost a sense of self, who she was, because she was her whole life and everything revolved around this job. So when she lost the job, there was no shell there. There was nothing but a shell there. And when the shell was cracked, there was nothing inside. That's real prophetic, I know. But don't ever get so blinded by the money, the prestige, the big office, the nice floors, the corner view, that you get blind to the job. And is the job still working for you? Don't ever forget that. Okay? It's always good to have friends. Han taught us that when he was frozen in carbonite and his peeps came and got him. This is somebody who, in the first movie, he had like one friend, and it was a walking carpet. By the time he got frozen in carbonite, he had 3 friends, his walking carpet, and 2 droids all came after him to get him. It's good to have friends. It's good to be friendly toward others. This is why I always tell people to help people out. You help job seekers, even though you're in that mode yourself. You help them because you never know when a situation is going to come up and they can help you. So you always try to help people. You always try to help people. Okay, so it's very good to have friends. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith and trust your instincts. This is Luke and Leia, the brother and sister. They were trying to escape the Death Star, and they had to swing across this big open tunnel thing. They have just met, and they are running, and they didn't know they were brother and sister, so she plants a nice wet one on them. Ew. But at the time, they were like, oh, they're going to be in love. And we didn't know that George Lucas was going to stick that one. Well, anyway. But they were behind them. There were stormtroopers who, historically can't shoot their way out of a wet paper bag, but, every once in a while they might get lucky. And in front of them, they had this big open crevice. Threw a cord and swung across. You got to trust on faith sometimes. In transition, especially, there's sometimes you just got to trust. You got to go on faith. You just got to go on faith. Faith comes into a lot of it, as a matter of fact, in job search. Sometimes you just have to trust your instincts. If you're tuned to your job search, if you're involved and you're actively engaged in your job search, you will develop instincts for things. You will develop instincts for when you meet people on how to engage them in conversation, to find out if they are in a position where they can introduce you to somebody. You will find out if you will be able to detect if someone is in a situation where they need your help, or they can help you. But you have to trust your instincts sometimes. Sometimes you'll be sitting there, you're like home, and somebody said, "Well, there's a job networking event coming up. Oh, I don't feel like going. I don't feel like going. And something says you better go. Trust your instincts. So let me see. I believe I'm up to my last one with 4 minutes to go. Go Ty. Go Ty. And finally, the last lesson. No matter how hard, just keep going. I say Leah is the one who epitomized this to me. She went through some stuff. She went through some serious stuff. You get tortured by your father because he didn't know he was your father. But then you find out later he was your father. But she kept going. She kept trying to, to save the Rebel Alliance. She got dumped down in the garbage chute, had the little snake thing down there trying to get at him. The second movie, she's out in the middle of an ice storm. That's when she falls in love with Han. And, she gets tortured again and, beat up on Cloud City. But she kept going. Beginning of the movie, she said, "Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope." This is a man that she had no memory of, because when she met him, she was 3.5, 4 hours old. But that was all she knew. Okay. She didn't give up, no matter what happened during her, her reign as princess. She didn't give up. She was always trying to fight the empire. When her ship was attacked, she stood, I won't say nose to nose with Vader, more like nose to belt buckle, but that don't sound right. But that was pretty close to how it was. But you don't give up. The thing about job search, if you don't do it, absolutely nobody else will. Okay. If you have your family to support or just yourself to support, if you don't get out there every day on that job search, if you don't do it, nobody else will do it. So no matter how hard it is to get up some mornings, no matter how hard it is to sit there at that computer or go out on interviews for jobs that you don't think you're going to get, you got to keep going. You have got to keep going, no matter. Oh, excuse me, no matter what. That's the message of this podcast, this episode, and every episode I've tried to do. You have to keep going. So with that, those are the 10 things that Star Wars can teach you from job search. Teach job seekers. Tomorrow I'm going to see, hopefully, the Force Awakens. And got one more show this year. Thank you for listening. Let me get through all of that. If you feel free, if you like the website, if you like the show, please subscribe in iTunes and leave feedback so others can find the show. Please feel free to send me a topic suggestion for 1 minute bunny tip. I swear I got a break for 2 weeks. I'm going to do some. Or the show, just send me a note at Tyrone@bunnyslippersofevil.com. When you land, please visit our Cafe Press store and buy a t-shirt, a water bottle, a coffee mug, a clock, or something. Anyway, show's ending. I'm getting cut short here, but have a great week, people. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. We'll see you next week. Take care and bye-bye.